The stunning Roman city of Chester in England has so much to offer. Ancient history, beautiful architecture, and more Romans than you can shake a stick at. Now, you can spend a fortune on zoos, tours and attractions. But what if we told you could spend a whole day here, packed with amazing sights, totally free? Free? Well, we're in. If you don't know us, I'm Rachel, he's Wills, and we are Postcards and a Pint. Let's get this tour started. First is the Roodee, which is not Wills with his pants off. It's actually Chester's racecourse, and it's the oldest operational racecourse in England. If the races aren't on, you can cross the track and walk to your heart's content. Not only is it perfect for the kids to burn off some energy, you can also show them a bit of history with the Roodee cross. In medieval times, this was possibly used for religious or civic ceremonies. But a local legend that we like is that a witch was burned at the stake at this very spot. She still haunts the racecourse today. In Roman times, this place was actually Chester's harbour, but after the river silted up, the area was eventually drained and it was repurposed for horse racing in the 1500s. A fact, please, Rach. The first horse race was held here on February the 9th, 1539, and it was held to replace the violent games of football. Now, the mayor at the time was called Henry G, and thanks to his surname, racehorses are often still called GGs today. That's a pretty cool fact. And another cool fact is that if it is race day, you can stand on the wall and watch for free. OK, you can't bet or join in, but pack yourself a picnic and enjoy the Chester races. Let's move on. Now, the Romans loved to build walls. They built them everywhere, to keep riffraff out of the cities, to keep the Scots out of England. And did you know that?
Chester's walls are the most complete in the UK, and there's so much to see along them.
If you walk all the way around, it takes about 45 minutes and is about 2 miles. There's plenty to see along the way, and you'll find handy info boards telling you what's what as you walk. This is also a great way to learn the geography of Chester, as you'll see most of the city as you walk. These walls were built by the Romans, then expanded after the Norman conquest of 1066. Then, once they'd lost their military use, they were preserved and incorporated into a public walkway in the Victorian era. You know how much the Victorians loved a walk. This is King Charles's Tower, not the one we've got now, the first one. Apparently, King Charles I stood on this tower to watch his troops fighting outside the city at the Battle of Rowton Moor. They lost, so it wasn't a great day for him. But next up, whilst we're still on the walls, is the thing that Chester is probably most famous for, the Eastgate Clock. And now I'll give you the line that every YouTuber who comes to Chester gives. Take it away. It's the second most photographed clock in the UK, second only to Big Ben. And there it is. Eastgate has served as a gateway to the city since Roman times. The current arch dates to 1768, and the clock was added in 1899 to commemorate Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee 2 years earlier. Let's now pop down onto Eastgate Street. This is full of gorgeous half-timbered buildings and plenty of shops. But we're not spending any money today, so the shops can wait. Chester does have a unique shopping feature though, the Rows. Tell us why these are so special, Rach. The Rows are totally unique to Chester. They date back to the 13th century, and you won't find this anywhere else in the world. Experts believe the design may have evolved from merchants building homes above their shops and extending their upper floors over time. It's pretty cool. Back in the streets, and we're at the Cross, and every Tuesday to Saturday in the summer months, the town crier still gives his midday proclamation. Take it away.
If you wander down Watergate Street, you reach the Roodee, our racecourse, created by Mayor Henry G. in the year 1539.
Thanks very much, lad. Here is a little more of the city centre. It is absolutely stunning, and there are plenty of places that'll take your money. But keep your eyes on the glorious architecture, and it won't cost you a penny. Up by the town hall, you'll find the visitor centre to ask any questions you may have, and opposite that, the cathedral. Donations are appreciated, as the upkeep of this enormous building must be extortionate. The main construction of this cathedral took place between the mid-13th century and the dissolution in 1540, although the oldest parts date back to 1092. With its Gothic architecture, medieval carvings and monastic cloisters, this cathedral shows centuries of religious history.
And it's massive.
The choir stalls in this cathedral are amongst its most historical and artistic features. They are from the 14th century, intricately carved, and are considered some of the finest in England. This cathedral is not just a place of worship. It's also a cultural and community hub, and I was glad that Wills was taking this so seriously. Or not. At the centre of the cloisters, you'll find the cloister gardens. These are so peaceful and retain their spiritual roots. Back inside, if you are thinking of splashing some cash, there is even a cafe in this cathedral. Outside, you'll notice that the main tower isn't as high as other English cathedrals. It doesn't have a bell tower within the cathedral itself. No, in Chester there's a separate one opposite, and it packs a mighty punch. After a quick walk through some pretty streets, this one is particularly pretty. We're next going to visit the Grosvenor Museum. The building itself is pretty impressive and is now Grade 2 listed. And this museum opened in 1886 and is named after the Duke of Westminster. Grosvenor being the family name. The museum delves into the city's rich history from its Roman origins to the present day. There are models showing how the city would have looked in Roman times. So many human remains from that time have been found during excavations. This exhibition shows the Roman attitude towards death and commemoration. This display of Roman tombstones and friezes is really impressive. The museum also has a permanent art collection, a display of Chester's silver-making history, and also a period house museum, showing how this house would have looked at various historical times. And yes, this museum is free to enter. It's time to move on, and keeping with the Roman theme, we're now at the Roman Gardens. This is a lovely place to visit, just outside the city walls. But are they old, Rach? Although these are called the Roman Gardens, they were actually laid out in 1949 as a place where they could display the Roman fragments that had been discovered around Chester. The many columns and pedestals you see come from the Roman fortress Dee The Groves. These pieces were unearthed from various locations around Chester, now reunited in this beautiful garden. The reconstructed hypocaust shows how the Romans were way ahead of their time with underfloor heating. They certainly liked their creature comforts. And those are the Roman gardens. But if you've not had enough Romans yet, fear not, because just next door is the Roman Amphitheatre. This is part of the ancient fortress of Dee The Groves. And did you know?
This is the largest known Roman amphitheatre in the whole of the UK and would have seated between 6,000 and 7,000 people. How cool is that?
Very cool. It is thought that this amphitheatre was used mostly as a training ground for the Roman soldiers of the 20th Legion. But it is likely that gladiatorial contests were held here, but not as elaborate as those in Rome. This is the altar of Nemesis and was most likely used by the soldiers or officials to make offerings before or after an event. Wherever you are in Chester, you're not far away from the Romans, but it's now time to move on to our next location, quite handily just next door. Welcome to the Church of St. John the Baptist. This is Chester's oldest church and has been a site for Christian worship for nearly 13 centuries. Inside, it's incredibly beautiful, but the organ boasts a rich and unique history. Originally constructed in 1838, it was used for the actual coronation of Queen Victoria. This organ was then acquired by this church and transported here by barge. It's an amazing history. Now let's go back outside. At the eastern end of the church, you'll find the ruins. These include the Norman chancel, dating from the 12th century, a 14th century lady chapel, and of course the infamous coffin in the wall. It was actually placed there to preserve it, but go on a Chester ghost walk and you'll hear many ghostly tales about it. These ruins are now part of a scheduled ancient monument and are recognised for their historical and architectural significance. It's time to move on. Next door again is Grosvenor Park. It's a beautiful green space. Tell us more. This park opened in 1867 and was funded by the second Marquess of Westminster. Richard was his name, and covering approximately 20 acres, it is recognised as one of the finest examples of Victorian parks in the northwest of England. It has a miniature railway, but that's not free. It does look fun though. When we visited, there seemed to be a student training dig going on. There's also a play area for kids and a pond, which, although quite overgrown, has its fair share of ducks. There are some lovely viewpoints looking out over the River Dee and plenty of paths to wander. Talking of the River Dee, let's head there next, as it's a lovely area. This area is known as the Groves. Get yourself down to the Groves for a lovely view of the river and a bite to eat and a cheeky drink. Or if you want to keep this day totally free, pack a picnic and a flask of tea. The views are still the same. You can pay to go on a river tour, or hire a boat or pedalo, but walking is free, and you can't beat a lovely walk along the river, admiring the Queen's Park suspension bridge. Ice creams are available for a fee, but in summer there are often concerts on this bandstand, and if you're lucky enough to catch one, these are free too. This area is an exceptional example of a Victorian promenade, designed for leisurely strolls along the riverbank. At the end of the promenade, you'll find the Chester Weir. This is a historic structure, built in 1093 to supply water power to the Dee Mills. It's constructed from sandstone and is now a Grade 1 listed structure. And if you like wildlife, it's a perfect spot to see a wide variety of birds. There's one stop left on our free tour of Chester, and that's Chester Castle. Although pretty visible from the outside, to find the entrance, go into the Law Courts car park, and tucked away in the corner, you'll find it. The castle was ordered by William the Conqueror in 1070, and although not a lot of it remains today, the Agricola Tower still stands from that time. Inside this tower is the Chapel of St Mary de Castro. Up a few rickety stairs to the first floor, and you're there. Some fragments of the medieval wall paintings are still visible today. These were pointed out by the knowledgeable English heritage volunteer. These wall paintings are incredibly rare and make this chapel one of the best preserved Norman chapels in any English castle. And climbing the rickety stairs again brings you to the roof and the finest free view of Chester. You can get a higher view from Chester Cathedral, but they'll charge you for that one. You can also walk a section of the castle walls. The castle has always been a military stronghold. In the 18th and 19th centuries, new buildings were added for this, and it was under military management until the 1990s. There is a military museum just the other side of the court if you want to learn more. From the highest part of the wall, you get stunning views of Grosvenor Bridge and Wales in the distance, a proper country. Before you leave, do check out the small museum by the entrance. This gives you a detailed history of this castle. Then, saluting Queen Victoria as you go, make your way back to your car, having enjoyed a totally free day out in Chester. And if you want free parking, top tip, the back streets in Hambridge are a good call. And there ends our free day out in Chester. Of course, if you have got some cash, make a donation here or buy an ice cream there. But as you can see, you can have a totally free and fantastic day. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, drop us a comment and subscribe to the channel. That's free too. We've been Postcard and a Pint. Cheers!
What did ancient Romans use to cut their hair?
I don't know.
A pair of Caesars!
Ah!